is enough said.
What's up, Heat Nation? Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Would really appreciate if you guys can like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we on the road to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone that subscribes. Now, we're going to get ready to rock and roll on another Miami Heat Talk adventure. I am excited because it's the Memorial Weekend, so we got an extra day. Hope everybody has some great stuff planned. Now, talk about a couple things today, you guys. I'd like to talk about the new NBA CBA situation that's going on, how that affects the Miami Heat going into the offseason. And we're going to talk a little bit about Haywood Highsmith because Haywood Highsmith did recently come out in an interview with hoopshype.com, said a few pretty interesting things. Talked about how he loves the Miami Heat culture, he loves playing for Eric Spoelstra, and he basically said that he would love to stay with the Miami Heat. Now, we all know Haywood Highsmith. We know he's the locksmith. We know he's our 3-and-D guy. This is a guy with a 7'1" wingspan, averaged about 6 points a game, 3.5 rebounds. He averaged 42% behind the three-point line. So Haywood Highsmith is the perfect definition of a 3-and-D glue guy, and he fits this Miami Heat culture perfectly. Now, Haywood Highsmith has been with the Miami Heat for the last 3 seasons, and he is now an unrestricted free agent. You know, there's no restrictions to his contract. He's free to go wherever he wants. Now, we've talked about Haywood Highsmith a little bit in the past, but we also talked about him with Caleb Martin. We all pretty much know that Caleb Martin ain't coming back to the Miami Heat. If the Miami Heat wants to bring back Caleb Martin, they're going to have to give him a big raise. They're probably going to have to go into the second apron to bring him back. Chances are that's not going to happen. You know, Caleb Martin's looking to make the mid-level exception, probably the full mid-level exception, maybe even more than that. So I don't think the Miami Heat are going to risk going into the second apron to bring back Caleb Martin. I'm no disrespect to Caleb Martin as much as I love what he's done on this team. He's not worth it. So if you're going to go into the second apron, it's because you are getting a player that you know is going to be a home run hit. Because look at the Phoenix Suns. They're in the second apron with paying Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker over $150 million between those 3 players. So being a second apron team, they're hampered with signing exception players, making trades, draft picks. You got a lot of restrictions going on with that. So the Heat are not going to do that for Caleb Martin. So we know Caleb Martin's gone. Haywood Highsmith, however, you can probably bring him back on a friendly contract that allows him to stay with this team, but that doesn't put you in the second apron. Now let's talk about the apron line, shall we? Because right now, this Miami Heat team, currently constructed, has $182 million in their books right now with all of the players that we currently have. We have about 11 players on their roster. 4 of those players are under exceptions. Guys like Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson, Kevin Love, and Thomas Bryant. All of those players are in player options. If all of those players opt out of their player options, this would put the Miami Heat around $163 to $164 million. That's going to be under the first apron line. So first apron, the 24-25 season, it's at $178 million. Second apron is at $189 million. The last thing the Miami Heat wants to do is get over that $189 million because now you're a second apron team and now you can't do anything towards the offseason. So you want to clear your books as much as possible because it's crazy. When you look at this team, you guys, with Jimmy Butler, with Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, and Duncan Robinson, those 5 guys together fill up about $158 million in your books. Add Jaime Jaquez, add Nikola Jovic to that. That's what brings you around the $164 million mark. So the Miami Heat have flexibility, just not a lot of flexibility. So being on that apron line and being over the luxury cap, you now have your $5.2 million exception. You now can aggregate a few players in trades. You can make some changes. You can play around and hover at the line. That's why Andy Ellsberg is amazing at his job. He's the numbers guy with the Miami Heat. If you notice every season, whether he's $1 million under the tax line by having us have only 14 players rather than 15 in recent years. Now with the new second apron thing, he's got to meet those numbers under. And I know this is a lot of boring information and useless details, you guys, but this is the stuff that's going to make people understand why the Heat can't just do any single type of trade that they want to do. Because now with this new CBA line, you guys, we have to meet certain restrictions. So now if you want to bring Haywood Highsmith back, it's going to be depending on what you can bring him for. Now look, if you want me to be honest, if Haywood Highsmith agrees to a similar contract that Caleb Martin got, like a 3-year, $15 to $20 million contract, I'm okay with that. Haywood Highsmith is a guy that can really be a great spark off the bench. He hits 40% behind the three-point line. He's one of the best defenders in your team. He's the type of guy that can eventually get to an all-defensive team level. He's also a guy that you can count on in regular season games. He plays a lot. Barring little, accidents and injuries that have happened, Haywood Highsmith is usually there playing. He's usually there giving you a lot of benefits on the floor. So I love Haywood Highsmith out there. I'm definitely open with re-signing Haywood Highsmith if it keeps us under the apron line. This is going to be a really interesting thing to look at moving forward. Now, other teams are going to be competing for Haywood Highsmith, you guys. I mean, when you have a guy that has a 7'1" wingspan, is known as a lockdown defender, and is a guy that can play multiple positions and hit the three-point shot the way that he does, this is going to be a guy that a lot of teams are clamoring for. I think Haywood Highsmith can get anywhere from $7 to $10 million per season. Now remember, I've mentioned this before, but in other states, you have to pay state income taxes. A lot of these state income taxes can be anywhere from 15 to 30%. It can eat up a huge amount of a player's salary. So that's another reason why the Miami Heat is attractive. Florida has no state income taxes. So if he's being offered $7 million from us versus $9 to $10 million from another team, after those state taxes, it's kind of the same money. So his agent is gonna look into that moving forward. But a guy with like Haywood Smith, who had probably his best career season, has been showing the last 2 years in the playoffs that he's definitely a puzzle piece that you can add on your team. Also, let's not forget the fact that this guy's under a lawsuit. Let's not forget that. He hit a guy with his car who lost his leg, so he's going to have to pay up the ass out of that one. So that's probably the only reason why I don't see Haywood Highsmith coming back, if he is offered a good amount from another team. But I think the Miami Heat should entertain the idea of bringing Haywood Highsmith back. It was kind of like last season when both Max Strus and Gabe Vincent were free agents. The Heat tried to really bring back Gabe Vincent. They chose Gabe Vincent over Max Strus. Gabe Vincent just decided to go to the Lakers. I think you're going to see the same thing here. I think the Heat are going to offer Haywood Highsmith a contract. It's definitely going to be a low ball offer. It might be that exception, that mid-level exception that we have. I think Haywood Highsmith is the perfect candidate for the $5.2 million exception. Question is, will he accept it? We don't know. That's what I would do. If you're asking Ernest, what would you be willing to offer Haywood Highsmith? Barring our taxes, the $5.2 million exception. I would give Haywood Highsmith a 3-year, $16 million contract. I think that's good enough. 3 years, $16 to $18 million, something like that. If he would accept that, I think it would be perfect. So I want to hear from you, Heat fans. How open are you to bringing back Haywood Highsmith? Would you bring back Haywood Highsmith at a number of around $10 million if it means you may have to eat into one of the luxury aprons? Or do you think Haywood Highsmith is not worth it? Do you think Haywood Highsmith would actually re-sign for the $10.2 million exception? Or do you think that's a little too low for him? I'm really interested to hear what you guys think in the comments, but most importantly, y'all, please take a moment, like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers, and I definitely need your guys' help to get there. Thank you so much for this time and support, you guys. Until next time, your boy Ernest out, and that is enough said. Enjoy your Friday, guys.